Here's a long, cinematic-style emotional story crafted for your YouTube video, written in a smooth narrative flow with emotional depth, character arcs, and a hook at the beginning to capture viewers' attention. Who would have thought a quiet man with calloused hands and a faded jacket could silence a whole room of wealthy elites with just a piano? Tonight, you'll see how a single dad veteran, mocked, underestimated, and pushed to the edge, revealed a secret that left every person stunned. And trust me, by the end of this story, you won't just be listening, you'll be feeling it deep in your chest. So stay with me, and if this story touches you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more powerful stories that remind us of the hidden strength in ordinary people. It started at a lavish charity gala in the heart of the city. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above marble floors, violins played softly, and men in tuxedos mingled with women in gowns. It was a night designed for the rich to show off their wealth while pretending to care about causes they barely understood. Among the crowd, however, was a man who clearly didn't belong. His suit was borrowed, his shoes scuffed. His name was Daniel, a single father, a war veteran, and a man who had seen more hardship in one lifetime than most of those rich men would ever know. Daniel hadn't come for the gala. He'd come for the job he desperately needed. He worked days in construction, nights as a janitor, but nothing seemed enough to cover medical bills for his little girl, Emma, who had a heart condition. When he heard that one of the wealthiest men in town, Richard Callahan, was looking for workers on one of his estates, Daniel swallowed his pride and came to introduce himself. He thought maybe tonight, dressed as best as he could, he might convince the man to give him a chance. But Richard Callahan was not the kind of man who respected humility. Arrogant, sharp-tongued, and surrounded by people who laughed at every cruel joke he made, Callahan noticed Daniel lingering near the buffet table. "Look at him," Richard smirked to his circle. "The soldier who thinks a borrowed suit makes him one of us. Maybe he should prove his worth." Daniel didn't respond. He had learned long ago that silence was often more powerful than anger. But Richard wasn't satisfied. His eyes landed on the grand piano at the center of the room, a glossy black Steinway, untouched since the musicians had taken their break. He grinned. "Tell you what, soldier," Richard sneered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Why don't you entertain us? Show us your hidden talents. Play the piano. Or are those rough hands of yours only good for fixing toilets?" Laughter erupted. A few guests shook their heads, embarrassed, but no one dared to speak against Richard. Daniel's jaw tightened. He hadn't touched a piano in years, not since his wife passed away. Music had been their language, their safe haven. They'd played together for Emma before she was even born. But after the funeral, every note felt like a wound. He'd walked away from the keys, believing that part of his life had died with her. Now, standing under the weight of mocking eyes, Daniel's first instinct was to refuse. He didn't owe these people anything. But then he caught sight of Emma, sitting quietly at the edge of the room, clutching her little stuffed rabbit. Her wide eyes held a silent plea. She didn't want her daddy to be laughed at. Daniel inhaled deeply, squared his shoulders, and walked toward the piano. The laughter softened into whispers. Richard smirked, waiting for him to humiliate himself. Daniel sat, his hands hovering over the keys, trembling, not from fear, but from the flood of memories crashing back. Then, as his fingers touched the keys, something shifted. The room fell into silence as the first notes flowed, tender and haunting. The melody rose and swelled, carrying raw emotion that words could never capture. It wasn't just skill, it was pain, love, hope, and resilience woven into every chord. Each note told a story of battles fought, losses endured, and dreams kept alive for a little girl who was his entire world. Gasps filled the hall. A woman pressed her hand to her chest, tears spilling. Even the waiters stopped in their tracks, unable to move. The music wasn't just beautiful, it was transcendent. And then came the moment no one expected. As Daniel rolled up his sleeve, his arm revealed a tattoo most had overlooked before. Etched in perfect detail was a treble clef entwined with military wings, the emblem of the Delta Force Musicians Unit, a small, elite group known for their mastery in both combat and music, a brotherhood almost no one outside the military had ever heard of. Whispers spread. "Delta Force, he's not just a soldier, he's a legend." Richard's smug smile faltered. He had wanted to mock Daniel, but now he sat frozen, forced to listen as the man he tried to humiliate commanded the room with nothing but music. By the time Daniel finished, the gala hall erupted, not in laughter, but in a standing ovation. People cheered, clapped, some even wept openly. Emma ran to her father, throwing her arms around him, whispering, "Daddy, Mommy would be proud." For the first time in years, Daniel allowed himself to smile through tears. Richard Callahan, red-faced and trembling, tried to recover his dignity. "That was unexpected," he muttered. But the crowd ignored him. They surrounded Daniel, asking him about his story, his music, his daughter. In that moment, the power shifted. The man who had been mocked became the man everyone admired. Later that night, one of the organizers approached Daniel. She explained that they were launching a music therapy program for children with health conditions, and they needed someone to lead it. The pay was good, but more importantly, it would give Daniel and Emma a new beginning. For once, hope felt within reach. As the guests filed out, still murmuring about the performance they'd never forget, Richard Callahan sat in silence, overshadowed by the man he tried to tear down. Daniel, meanwhile, held Emma close, knowing he hadn't just played music tonight, he had played his truth, and in doing so, opened a door to a brighter tomorrow. So, if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that true greatness often hides behind scars and silence, then give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Because every week, we share stories like Daniel's, stories that prove dignity, love, and resilience are worth more than all the wealth in the world. And who knows? The next story might just change the way you see your own life.